All right, so welcome everyone to our course. I'm so excited to spend the next about 2 months together. We're going to have a few weeks in between where we're taking a break and just giving you time to integrate what we're learning in between classes, just kind of slow the pace. And I'm just going to come over here and take a look at the chat. So we have Tina from Bellingham, wanting to know some birds better. Heather's in Seattle. Oh, two from Washington. Journaling behavior, sounds, and songs. Okay, great. That's what we're going to be doing. And Eva wants to capture bird song in her journal, hear the nuances in their songs. Yes, absolutely. The work that we'll do will help you on that road. Karen from Mount Vernon. Land of Coast Salish and Skagit peoples. I want to learn how to journal behavior and songs. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We'll have fun doing this. Carolyn from Berkeley. The thing I really want to learn is how to identify more bird calls. Okay. From my local area. We're definitely going to get started on that. Yep. And Leslie's from Carmel. Would love to learn to identify more birds by their song. Okay. Susan in Alameda. Lots of shorebirds around here. I'm new to nature journaling and would just love to develop a practice. Perfect. Susie in Santa Cruz would love to learn more about birds and not feeling self-critical drawing them. Yes, all of this. We're going to be discussing pretty much all of what you've expressed, and how much of it you become comfortable with will depend on your own pace and what time you can put into the practice. But we'll definitely introduce you to strategies and practices that will get you on the road to developing those skills. Okay, I think I am going to start with a few slides here. Zooming over. All right. Well, welcome to Spark Your Bird Love. This is about using the nature journal to help us learn a little bit more about birds, help us to slow down and see more, watch some behaviors, listen to the sounds, and just have fun with learning the birds without intimidation and pressure and competition. Advance my slides. Oh, where'd it go? That was not going to be my slides. Okay, so maybe just go to the orientation. I think all of you were able to find everything in Teachable. And if not, if you signed up a little bit later and haven't had a chance to look, if you go back to when you enrolled in the classroom, you set up a username and a password. And you'll use the Teachable platform to access all of the recordings of this course. And if there's handouts or PDFs, I'll put them all in the classroom for each week. And all of the links will be there. And there's a few topics there that have some supplies that you want to have handy, and how to change your email opt-in. I think maybe 2 or 3 people here in the class had opted out of emails. Well, Teachable doesn't tell you that when you say opt out of emails, it means that I can't send you any emails. So if any of you got a separate email from me saying, please opt in, for the duration of the class, and that's what it is. And if you have trouble figuring that out, you can let me know. For this class, I am also giving you membership to the Spark Circles community. And that is an online platform that I have that is, let's see if I can pop in over here. It looks kind of like this. Can you see my screen right now? I have my nature journal club here on, let's say there's going to be a lot of columns that you won't see when you accept the invitation and sign in, but you'll get down to Spark Your Bird Love. And this is the course page, and you'll click on these sections. And the first one is just say hello. So you'll go up to the top to new post, and then click and tell us a little bit about, there's some instructions here. Oh wait, this is mine. I think I need to pin. I'll do that later. Like where you are, why you're interested, what's your earliest memory or encounter with birds? And do you have a favorite memory of birds, or maybe some experience with birds that left a strong impression? We would love to hear, our collective experience and fun stories with birds. So you can take some time and think about that. How have birds touched your life, and put in a post so that we can get to know each other. Would love to use this forum. It's private, so it's only open to the students in this little space. And after that, you can update your profile. There's instructions on how to update your profile. So you have a little blurb about who you are, and a photo, so we can start to get to know each other. I really want us to feel like we're in a community together and that we're learning from each other. And we all live in different parts of the country. So it'll be really fun to see and learn about your backyard birds that you're going to explore for the next 8 or 10 weeks. And then this space, these are spaces. Each of these lines are spaces. And what you'll see are just lots of, all the posts will get posted in here. So it's similar to Facebook, those of you who use Facebook, where you'll post and then they'll just kind of go in a list. And so you'll be able to see each other's posts and comment and give positive feedback, and would love for us to have some conversations in between classes. We used a different platform for the last time around, and that we couldn't really comment so much in the interaction. So there's more interaction here. So would love for you to test this out for this class and let me know how you like it. If something's not working or you need some instruction. I think there is also this FAQ should be visible to you as well. So there's some information on how do I, edit a post or create a post, that kind of thing.
Melinda, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is all this on the Teachable platform?
Yeah, so you go to Teachable, and let me see if I can get over to Teachable. Yeah, start at Teachable, and then that's where everything will be listed. There's a separate, what are they called? Under the curriculum, and there are different lines. There's going to be one separate line that gives you instructions on the community, the Spark Circles community. So you can go on there, and then there's a link. When you click on that link, it'll take you to the Circle platform. So the Circle platform will be community.sparkandnature.com. And so it'll go to a different web page.
Thank you.
Okay. And those of you who are savvy with apps, you can get the app for your phone as well. And you can work on the phone, or you can go to your phone and just go to Safari or Firefox, whatever you have, and then just log in and take a look at there. And then as everyone starts logging in next week, we could take a look at, and we can do a little tour if anyone is still unfamiliar with it. Okay. Are there any other questions with those topics? Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to my slides. All right. So the inspiration and intention, the big idea, why this class? I've spent a lot of years doing bird watching and exploring other people's classes and birding experiences. And I found that what I hear from a lot of people is they really love birds, they want to learn more, but they've gone to an experience and that just wasn't a good fit for them because it maybe was intimidating or too fast paced, or the material was just not accessible. So my idea is I want to make learning birds fun. And I really want this to be about enjoying the experience of discovery of your firsthand experience with birds. So it's not going to be about memorizing biological facts or, the ecology about birds per se. Well, I'll show some different resources that you can use, but I really want to just do this as a higher level and give you options on how you can do this in a friendly manner at your own pace. So in order to do this, I'm going to invite everyone to come with the idea of a beginner's mind. This is borrowed from the Zen Buddhist practice of coming to this class not as an expert. Some of you may know some things about nature journaling or about birds, but just to come with an open mind and allowing yourself to be a student, a learner instead of the expert. Because in this idea of beginner's mind, in the mind of the beginner, there's so much to learn, there's so much you're open to, but in the mind of an expert, there's very little there for learning. So we're going to start where you are, wherever you are. If you're brand new to birds, this is totally fine. If you've been birding for years, this is okay too, because you're going to be applying these to whatever level you're at and in your journal in whatever form that you're comfortable with. And I'll probably be saying these things throughout the course, that this is really about making progress and not having something down perfectly, whether it's a drawing of a bird or how you're recording it or understanding birds. So again, not memorizing anything, we're going to learn things organically and you're exploring through your own experiences. And we do use drawing in our journal. It's one of the languages that we use with words and numbers, but we're using drawing to learn about our subject and not for the sake of art. So this might be a new concept to some of you if you've always experienced drawing as art, but we're going to be walking through this slowly, and there'll be repetition to help remind us when we get stuck in this. I have an inner critic that is pretty loud sometimes. It's judging the way that something looks when I draw. So I have come up with different ways, strategies to help me calm that inner critic so that I can continue to draw and practice and learn. So I'm going to be sharing that with you. All right, so just a tad about my background is I have a background in marine science. I studied marine biology and ornithology. I've done some rehabilitation with birds and marine mammals. I've worked on research vessels with regards to birds and did some field research. And this here is on the Farallon Islands, which is an island off of San Francisco, about 30 miles out. I got to live there for a couple of years with all of these seabirds. And this is the tiniest little Cassin's auklet chick I'd ever seen, and don't have very many photos of myself with the birds, but that was one that I had. And through this process of my background with birds and with science and working as a naturalist is a nature journal. I've kept one for about 20 years, and at first I didn't know other people nature journaled. I have always been a journal keeper, like recording things that had happened, my thoughts, my gratitudes. And as I started to learn more about birds on my own, I started to keep a journal to keep track of what birds I saw where. Part of it was I was just curious, and another part of me is like wanted to learn. I was really hungry to learn, and I didn't like the birding experiences that I had outside. So my husband and I started to learn about birds on our own, and the journal has been a really great resource. So think about, what's your intention when you're looking at birds? Are you wanting to learn? There's a lot of different reasons why people are looking at birds. There are some people who are really interested in learning about everything that's in their habitat, right? Curious whether it's birds or animals or plants. There are some people that want to do photography, are really interested in like finding out, where can I find the birds so that I can take photos of them close up. Other people might be interested because they have a life list. That means it's a list of all the birds that they've seen in their life, and they want to check off boxes, and they want to travel the world to see as many birds as possible. Or some of you might just want to know, who's at my bird feeder. And whatever reason you're here for birds is all okay. And we're going to learn some strategies together. Excuse me, I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to grab a glass of water. Okay. All right. Let's see. Look at my slides. Okay, I'm going to stop my slides for a moment. Where are my controls? Stop. Okay. That's too many words. We're going to do this by hand. So I'm going to set up my camera and I'm going to write some notes, and we can write notes together about what to look forward to in this class. All right, so today's class, spark your bird love. And we'll just draw a little bird here, a little cartoon bird. One of the things that we'll focus on is having ourselves slow our pace. Some of you have already are nature journaling kind of already do this, but if you're new to nature journaling, it's about slowing down because our world is so fast paced and busy. Slowing down. I'm going to talk and write at the same time. Slowing down. I find that this can be really hard because there's a lot of things going on, but we're going to be looking at nature with intention. And one practice that I'll invite you to do is called a sit spot. Some of you may already do this, is finding a place in nature. Maybe it's your backyard or a window in your, by a window in a house or outside, maybe somewhere in your neighborhood. Think about a place that's close. You don't want it to be 10 miles away or someplace where you have to drive. Some place that you can get to in like a 5-minute walk, less than 5-minute walk, because I'm going to invite you to go regularly and sit in nature. This is good for any kind of nature journaling or for your bird watching. So maybe if you have a bird feeder, your sit spot might be by your bird feeder. And think of that space for the duration of the course as this place that you'll come back to again and again. And if you can do it daily, that's great. It doesn't have to be for an hour. It could be just for a few minutes, or at least a few times a week, so that we can start observing some changes that are happening. And then we'll be taking notes in our journals, and we will be using some 3 prompts we'll go over later, but we like to use these prompts that start us out. I notice, what am I noticing about my birds? What do I wonder about the birds? And this helps us with connections. It reminds me of. So these prompts can help us with our observations. And then we're using the 3 languages of words, pictures, and numbers. Words could be labels and titles. The pictures, we're going to do some scribbles. So scribble sketching and contour drawing. This I find has been really, really helpful for developing my ability to draw in a pleasing manner. So we'll do some, I like to call them warm-ups or brain training. So warm-ups with contour drawings. And these are things that you can do on your own daily or whenever you feel like practicing. But these are brain training exercises. I see brain training. It's connecting our our eye and our hand through our brain. So while we're looking at the bird, our hand will be drawing what we see. So we're not going to be drawing what we think the bird looks like, but we're going to be actually drawing the bird that we're looking at. And we'll do that with photographs to practice. So we'll have some no, I don't want to call it homework, but home practice to do in between classes so that you can get more comfortable with this. And so when you get stuck with any of these practices, you can come back to class or type in and circle if you have trouble or if you're feeling stuck, and we can work through those together. Another thing with birds is about listening. So we'll be listening to sounds. We'll be listening, listen. I'll draw an ear. We'll turn that into an ear. Okay, we're gonna listen to the sounds that birds make and learn how to draw them in our journal. I know that sounds kind of funny, but drawing bird sounds, but we'll draw bird sounds. So when the bird is singing, we can draw their voices. So sometimes when we're outside, I'm going to invite you to be outside when we're watching birds, and we'll be practicing field sketching, or at least I'll introduce it. The practice will be your own. Like how do we do this? How do I draw while I'm outside? How do I draw while things are moving? So I'll introduce you to some practices that will help you grow that capacity to be able to do that. This is about practice, right? You might hear this all the time, practice makes perfect, or we're not looking for perfection, actually. So we're going to practice. John Muir Laws calls it pencil miles. So the more miles we put in with our pencil, where's my pencil? The more miles I put in with my pencil, the faster I'll improve that ability to draw what I'm seeing. And so I'm going to invite you to rack in as many pencil miles as you can. And we can do that by simple contour drawings. We could do that from photographs. And we do this practice together so that when you actually see birds in nature, it's going to be a little bit easier to do the capturing of what you're seeing. We'll also dive in deep to a particular bird, and we can do a deep dive. So let's turn this into a bird. This is a bird, like a cormorant or something, and it's diving deep. We can take a deep dive into a bird and do a bird study. And doing these in your nature journal helps you to incorporate more information so that when you're out there looking at the bird, you have something like it directs what you're going to be looking for. So it goes hand in hand. So we're making personal observations, having questions, and maybe getting some more information from a field guide. If you want to, this is just all, if you're just having fun, enjoying watching it and putting it in your journal, that's fine. But we can take a deeper dive and learn how to, I have a blue pen here. I'm just going to paint this like the ocean. Take a deep dive and learn a little bit more about these birds. I'll show you how to use an infographic. So we'll do some of these where your journal page will have maybe a bird that you're studying, and you might write down what you're noticing and what you're wondering, and maybe look up some information about that, and whatever you're discovering and noting. And so this page becomes alive and full of lots of information. And we can also use this to learn about, let's see, this is bird 1, versus bird two. Let's say you have two birds that are similar and you're wanting to learn, how do I tell the difference between a red-winged blackbird and a brewer's blackbird? I don't know if you have both of those, but we could do a study where I'm going to draw both of them. And when I'm drawing, I'm learning about the details of the bird. So as I'm drawing the bird, I'm looking at the photograph or the resource and I go, oh, look at that. He's got a bigger beak than the other one. Right. And then because you're drawing and talking it out, you're going to remember this better. And I know that everyone might learn slightly differently, but one of the strategies that really helped me in college was writing my notes out. And I could see when I'm taking an exam, I could recall that information. I remember, oh yeah, I used a blue marker for that. And I remember it was on the left-hand side of the page, and make connections. So the journal can do the same thing. It can help us understand and remember and it's a sensory scrapbook. I like to look at my journal that way, that it's going to help me get to know the birds in my yard a little bit better. All right, I'm going to just take a look and see. Okay, so now I'll just go back to my slides because I want to show you a few pictures here. Does anyone have any questions right now? All right. Oh, I'm looking over here. Someone asked, how many birds are on your life list so far? You know, I don't have a life list. You might be surprised. I've been watching birds for about 30 years. I got started because my husband, my now husband, then boyfriend, took me out into local area for a hike. And he grew up in a family that was bird watchers and had binoculars and bird books, and I didn't. I grew up on a nursery and we knew lots of things about plants, but really didn't know anything about birds. And he pointed out some birds that he knew the names of and, was showing me where they were and the habits that they were doing. I was so surprised. So this is why my life work is helping people, introducing people to nature, because if it wasn't for my husband showing me the birds, I would not be here today. I would not have taken the path to study birds. I would not have studied biology. I was actually, going to take over family business and study business and, in college. And that was totally have been the wrong thing for me, knowing my personality. So the power of one person's actions is really important. So that was a long story going back to how many birds. I don't know. I guess it just doesn't interest me to count how many birds I have. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to know how many birds you have. I kind of see it as like just a different, what's a good analogy? It's like two different sports, so to speak, around birds, around the same subject. We're approaching it totally different. It's kind of like hunting, right? It's very much like, okay, I'm going to go where those birds are and I want to see them and I want to see, just knock them off my list and go around. For me, it's like, okay, I like my common birds. Actually, my common birds teach me more about their behavior and ecology. And that's what I really like about it. So you're free to absorb any of this and approach birds however you like. So bird watching can give us the enjoyment of birds, time in nature, makes us aware of the nature around us. And honing into variations, right? When we start watching the birds, writing them down, we start to notice like, oh, what's the difference between the male and the female when we didn't know before? We know we're learning what to look for. Right. So we're gonna focus on that. And then fostering a sense of appreciation. The birds aren't always here in my backyard. So getting to know like, oh, these are the birds that only come in the winter or only here in the summer. And I can just really relish and enjoy when they're here. And then I just feel more connected and have a deeper relationship. You might call it falling in love with the birds that are in your neighborhood. And that just, I don't know, it just enriches my life. Okay. Whoops. Nature journaling is basically the way that I see it is observing nature and recording what you see. So taking time to notice and wonder, measuring things, really like using your senses to be around it. And it's harder with birds, right? It's easier with a pine cone or a leaf, but we can do the same thing with birds. And then we write down what we see in the 3D world, right? There's depth and height and width and movement. How do you put that on a piece of paper? So there are some strategies that I'll share with you that can help us simplify getting this complex world onto a two-dimensional piece of paper. All right. So getting into the bird world, right? We see this kind of energy sometimes, right? We're moving way too fast. And then to get into the bird world, we need to drop down and slow down. And I think this is kind of like a respite for me. If I give myself permission, I'm just going to watch my birds at the feeder, give myself permission to just be there for a few minutes. Okay. Let's see. Okay, why nature journaling? It's assisting my memory. We're getting to know the birds more intimately, and then we learn how to study them better and learn about their identification. So here's a few slides on just different ways that you might that you could journal birds. This is sounds. So we'll show you how to do this. This is marking down the different sounds that birds are making. And then this helps you remember. This is how I've learned a lot of bird songs, is as drawing them. And I continue to draw them because it's fun and it hones my understanding and learning. You can draw out songs in different ways. You can use words, you can use lines, you can use musical notation. You can learn about your behaviors in ecology. I have a bluebird nest box that I have to clean out every year. I've got to do that this weekend because the house sparrows like to build nests in, and I want to reserve that nest box for the bluebirds that are endangered. And so maybe we're wanting to create habitat for the birds that we love, and we want to learn about what are the birds in my neighborhood and my nearby nature doing. You can do this by recording what you see and learn in your journal. And over time, you'll start to get to know what are the birds in my neighborhood doing, because if we go to a bird book, it's going to give you a general idea, but we're not going to get specifics. So by observing them yourself, you can get firsthand knowledge. And then learning about their breeding season and, how they move through the world, and learning identification. This is the goal is not to have the name of the bird, right? The goal is to observe the bird. So in the rest of the world, we want to get the name of the thing. What kind of tree is that? What kind of acorn is that? What kind of bird? What kind of squirrel is that? We want to put a label on it. And those labels can be useful. They can help us learn more about the bird. But I'm going to just invite you to just not put pressure on yourself to get the name right away, because that's not as important as we're slowing down and observing. So this was the page I did on how do I identify a bird as a ruby-crowned kinglet. And so I wrote down the process in a cartoon format. So you can do, little boxes and little scribbles and write down, I heard this sound, it sounded like this. And then I looked for this characteristic and this is what I saw. And then I saw these markings. And then I knew, right, that it was this bird. So you can do this to make a key for yourself to learn about birds. Maybe the different kinds of birds that come to your feeder and their habits, or this one was the different colors of house finches. On this particular day, I saw like maybe a variation, like 4 different colors. They're normally red, the males get red, but the reddishness is dependent on the food that they're eating. And in where I live, there's some yellow house finches. So on this day, I saw all 4 and did a little color swatch there to show, wow, I saw all these 4 colors. Over here, I was watching these birds at my feeder. I noticed that every bird ate seeds differently. I don't know if any of you have done that, but I was noticing that this bird will crack the seed open and eat the inside. Others will just eat the seed whole. Others will take the seed and take it somewhere else. Some will hold it between their feet. Some will not do that. Some will just roll it between their beak to break it open. So it was really interesting. And I didn't really pay attention to that until this was a couple of years ago when we were spending a lot of time at home. So our common birds have secrets that they want to teach us. We just, want to focus on it. You can talk about bird diversity. What are the kind of birds that are coming to your feeder? I don't know, maybe once a month, you're just going to write down what kind of birds you see. Oh, this is kind of a messy one. A little bit more about songs. I show this notation on how to notice the bird songs. And because I was writing it down, I noticed that there are these two different songs. The same kind of bird did two different songs. So then it made me wonder, like, oh, well, yeah, these are two different males, but why do they have this song? Why is it different? This is just drawing the mockingbird, and you can identify different mockingbirds based on the different songs that they're singing if you're keeping track and drawing them. Seasons, I like to keep track of, like the first pine siskin that arrives or the last grosbeak that's here in the season. And it's just really, for me, it's been fun to note that. And then this is another key of like, how do I tell them apart? Making little notes of like, okay, this one has yellow right here, has 2 wing bars. These are some characteristics in a bullet pointed list of like, this is how I tell the pine siskin from the house finch that looks very similar. Maybe there's habits of the birds. They're separated, they're segregated on the beach in different groups. Why do they do that? Maybe you're learning birds by call. And on this, I have this page that I drew these 4 common woodpeckers here in my neighborhood. And then I wrote out what their songs were so that I can start to learn when I hear a song, okay, it's going, it's a drumming, that's the nulls, because the hairy goes peak, peak. And then the acorn woodpecker goes rack up, rack up, rack up. So, and I'm going to invite you to say these songs because it is so powerful. I still do this today. Sometimes I'll hear a bird, tickly, 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 tickly. Oh yeah. And I sing back and I go, yeah, that's a black phoebe, because it's recorded in my brain through audio, or I guess it's audio, right? Hearing or speaking. So the more senses you use, the better you'll learn. And, they say that, saying things out loud will help you remember them. Maybe it's a comparison, greater yellow legs versus yellow legs. I don't know. They both have yellow legs. How do you tell them apart? So you can study. I saw both. And then I'm like, if I just saw one, I wouldn't know which is which. So I went to a field guide and I wrote down right here, like, how do I tell the greater from the lesser? And then did a little cartoon of the head. Oh, okay, the lesser, right? The beak is like this, right? And then the next time I go out, I might still not be able to tell them apart, but I've done this practice, so it's going to be a little bit easier. I'm going to say, oh, right, I don't need to look at the legs. I need to look at the wing, or I need to look at the eye, or, oh, it's the beak. So this is about learning birds slowly and organically. And when we do that, you're going to remember it. So this is very different from memorizing birds. So it's low pressure. You can do behavior as cartoons, as lines and diagrams. So it's not about painting a pretty bird. You'll see the last few pages that I've showed, they're not close-ups, not like a painting of a bird, but really focusing on the observation. What did I see? What am I interested in? What got me excited? And what gets me excited might be different from what gets you excited, and that's okay. See, not all my pages have a pretty bird. This is just a light sketch, and I was just showing, oh, it has orange feathers here, and the orange I had in my paint box wasn't the right color, so I just wrote it with words. So I'm combining words and pictures and diagrams, right? So this is the flight of an Anna's. Is this an Anna's? No, this is the Allen's, a hummingbird, going back and forth and back and forth. This is one way that you can identify this particular hummingbird from the other hummingbirds that I have. Well, this would be really hard to show with just words. So you can use the diagram to say, okay, start here. The bird starts right here, and then it goes zoops up and back and forth and back and forth. And I put a number here, a series of swoops, and then it buzzes up and it rises up really high, and then it jets down really fast, and it makes a high pitched zweer sound at the bottom.
Hmm.
You might not know what this is, but because I went through and written it, I'm going to remember it better. And now I know how to identify the Allen's hummingbird by flight, because part of it is I've written it out. And this is not the only time I've done it in my journal. I'll do it each time I see it. And then we'll start to learn. So this is an example of modified contour drawings that we can do. And this is really a study to help you get the feeling of the bird. So not just looking for physical characteristics, but getting a sense. So when we're bird watching, they call it the gestalt, or the jizz of the bird. So we can start to develop that using a nature journal and looking at photographs. So photographs are 2D, so they're easier to draw. So I'm going to invite you to just practice with photographs, so that when you go out into looking at the real bird, it's going to be a little bit easier, because you have a little bit of a sense of, let's say it's the California scrub jay. You've done a whole bunch of contour drawings of California scrub jay. So now you're getting more aware of, like, oh, where is the gray? Right, it's right here on the shoulders. And then I get a sense of the feel, like how long is that tail compared to the rest of the body, right? What's the shape of the bird? What's the posture? So just, a few more different ways that you can journal birds. There's no right or wrong format.